Are you finally working? Man, imagine recording a whole video just to find out all of the audio was completely borked. But, whoa, 3 times in 2 weeks. I never expected that. But yes, we are going back to Cyberpunk. Finally, after 3 years, we're going to be talking about something completely different when it comes to Cyberpunk. And yeah, that's right, it's the game's first DLC. You know, I've actually been waiting for the release of Phantom Liberty since way before we even knew it was going to be called Phantom Liberty. And honestly, I have to say, I don't know if it was worth a 3-year wait, but it was definitely amazing and an experience to play. I really think that the release of Cyberpunk back a couple years ago, CD Projekt Red honestly dropped the ball. And with that, I kind of expected the same thing with Phantom Liberty. But with the new missions, the new area to traverse, the new weapons and attachments, along with cyberware and the all-out fact that the DLC works, CDPR seemed to pick that ball right back up with the release, even along with the last update the game had. But really, this intro doesn't need to be any longer, and I think the majority of you just want me to get into Phantom Liberty and my thoughts on this very late DLC. So yeah, I bet you can tell that I'm a little stuck up on the whole 3 years thing, but I think that Phantom Liberty was far past due. And I thought, honestly, there was a chance that Cyberpunk would never actually get a DLC. But lo and behold, we finally got it. And again, I really did not expect much at first, after the launch of the base game. But really, I was pleasantly surprised. There were a lot of aspects of Dogtown, the new district, along with the story in general that I just found myself really enjoying. And if you already know my thoughts on the base game, I think that Phantom Liberty fits right alongside it. In this video though, I want to go through some of those things that I really liked, along with the basic rundown of the story and the new additions to the game, without giving off too many spoilers though, as I think you should all really go give it a try for yourselves. In my opinion though, just like the update 2.0, this DLC was a big win for CD Projekt Red, and I hope that there's more like this to see in the future. Now, without further ado, let's actually get into this new expansion and what we finally got. Before we start, let me just say really quick, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit it with a like, and if you want to see more, definitely subscribe to join the community now. But right to it. I'm gonna start off with the obvious, and that is the absolutely amazing addition to the story that we got, which was quite the thrill to play through. And again, I will say now that I will try to tiptoe around any of the important parts and spare you all from as many spoilers as I can. But going right into the beginning, you find yourself at the doors of Dogtown, a kind of new district of Night City. But I'll get back to Dogtown in a bit. But you find yourself at the gates of Dogtown when the relic chip in your head starts doing its thing and malfunctioning. You kind of pass out before someone comes to your aid by the name of Songbird. You soon realize though that they may not be who they seem to be. They start talking to you, making sure you're okay before everything takes a weird turn. She says she's actually there for your help, and if you come to her aid, she can help you with the relic. Without being able to ask her how she knows about it though, she ends up talking and even touching Johnny. She tells you all about the black magic she is conjuring to talk to you and lets you know that the president is in trouble. Yeah, you're the last hope for the president. She actually mutes Johnny while she leads you to the president, who is in the heart of Dogtown. After fighting your way to President Myers and getting her to safety, Johnny returns, but there are no more signs of Songbird. You and Myers are now on the mission of finding Songbird, shutting down the operations of Dogtown, and getting Myers out safely. While in Dogtown, there's only one person for Myers to call. If you all have seen the trailers for Phantom Liberty, then you probably know that another really famous actor joins the roster alongside Keanu Reeves, and that is Idris Elba. Now you can probably guess who Myers calls in to help you out. That's right, it's Idris Elba. Well, in the game, he is known as Solomon Reed. Reed is an undercover FIA agent with a pretty checkered past that involves backstabbing, corpo greed, murder, the feds, and even more, but I'll leave it up to you all to uncover exactly what he did. But Reed comes to your aid, knowing Myers already, and knowing the stakes, he of course decides to help. With this, you'll have to take an oath to become an undercover FIA agent yourself, or skip that part of things and become a Newsome merc. You and Reed then have to go Batman, lurking through Dogtown trying to solve where Songbird went, bringing in more friends and former agents to help you as well. I honestly don't really want to go much more into the story of Phantom Liberty, as I don't want to spoil this amazing story for you all. I know I already said quite a bit, but really, I did not even chip the tip of the iceberg. There's so much lore and exposition nestled in between everything that I just said, not to mention it is only but the beginning of the DLC, so you all have so much more to uncover when becoming a spy in Dogtown. But I think honestly, the story for Phantom Liberty was really engaging, hooking you in from the first relic malfunction. I don't think that it should have taken 3 years to come out, but they definitely did not let us down after those 3 years. And even aside from the main story, Dogtown does not let you down with side activities, as there's new jobs and gigs to fill your time with, along with learning something new about the District of Night City we never got to see anything about before. Go ahead and help El Capitan by delivering some cars to him, or finally get a chance to figure out who Mr. Hands is with his new set of gigs he's handing out. You thought that was it? Nope. You can even get new messages from friends and loved ones you helped once before, making sure you don't forget about them. All in all, I always felt like there wasn't enough in Cyberpunk 2077's base story, always being able to 100% the game in around 60 hours or so, and I always was left wanting more. Well, we finally have more. This is exactly what I wanted and waited for. A little bit more of everything. And I have to say that I have been loving being able to put more hours into the game without seeing what I've already seen before. So even for the main story alone, I would say this DLC is worth the money, and you would get even more than you're expecting. But as I said, I don't want to spoil too much, so I'm gonna leave the story where it lay, and shift things over to the new location that you find yourself in, that being Dogtown. So I said before that Dogtown is kind of new. That is where I want to start things off. So with the announcements and trailers of Phantom Liberty, along with what we've been told by CDPR, we knew that there would be a new location that the DLC would be taking place in, though I honestly did not expect it to be right in the middle of Night City, and a place we've driven past so many times. But Dogtown has actually been in Cyberpunk for literally years. Now, if you know anything about the history of Cyberpunk 2077, you would actually know that it's based on an old tabletop RPG game called Cyberpunk 2020, following a lot of the same story. Now, in Cyberpunk 2020, Militech set up secret testing and weapon bunkers within Pacifica, soon being deserted and walled off, later becoming a district of Night City called the Combat Zone, where it was lawless and controlled by gangs. Later on in the future of Cyberpunk lore though, a gang leader by the name of Hansen amassed the Barghest militia, taking control of the combat zone. With the emblem and mascot of the Barghest being a dog, along with that emblem being spray painted all over the district, the combat zone coined the name of Dogtown by its residents, soon being a place where people would go hoping to find sanctuary from the terrors and corpo overlords of Night City, only to find themselves in another hub of scum and villainy. So into 2077, where we are now, Dogtown is still a lawless landfill of a mini-city nestled into Night City. The skyscrapers still tower, but the lights just don't shine as bright. The whole district literally looks like a scene out of a zombie movie, or even like Fallout. Hansen's men patrol the streets along with other gang members or even junkies sprawling the sidewalks. This is a huge change from the usual Night City you're already used to, being a grimy, almost Gotham-like city. They really were going hard at the futuristic Batman detective idea if you ask me. But even though Dogtown might not be as bright and neon as the norm, they still gave us an absolutely beautiful atmosphere, along with intriguing background. I also love that they are still holding true to the original Cyberpunk 2020 lore. Along with this, Dogtown does not let you down on the side of merchants and restaurants. You can still visit the usual sushi restaurant, just watch out for foodborne illnesses. Along with this, visit the vast and many weapon merchants, though also watch out for black market sales. So I'll say, Dogtown is a great new addition to Cyberpunk 2077, even if it's not really new to the Cyberpunk lore. And now that we talked a little bit about the new story and the new district, I want to move over to all of the smaller things that came with Phantom Liberty, the things not really big enough to make their own point out of. So the first thing I want to bring up is sort of on the side of story, but not really. But honestly, I was thinking that with the addition of Idris Elba to the cast, we would be seeing a little less of Johnny, though that is not the case luckily. It's nice to see that Johnny is still kicking around and we actually get a lot of new backstory and exposition from Johnny, letting us know more about his past and what made him the cold-hearted Arasaka killer that we know him as today. And speaking of Idris Elba and his character Reed, I think that he did a great job at voice acting and motion cap, as some bigger actors are honestly not the best when it comes to appearing in video games. Along with that, CDPR gave us a great story behind the character. The next thing that I thought was absolutely needed, and I already brushed on it before, but that was the addition of new side jobs and gigs. If you remember Mr. Hands, he was a fixer that gives you like one mission in the base story, but with Phantom Liberty, Mr. Hands is the main fixer in Dogtown, giving you a whole new roster of gigs. Along with the side jobs and gigs, there are also a few new cyber psychos to run into, letting the new district of Night City know who the true cyber psycho is. There's also a new type of task that you're asked to do, which is the vehicle retrievals. El Capitan has his eyes on a few different cars and bikes dotted around Dogtown and even Night City in general. And if you come across a steering wheel on the map, be sure to hop in that car and deliver it to El Capitan for the street cred, eddies, and just sometimes amazing loot. But away from the new missions and story, there is something that I talked about in my last video that I was 100% correct with, and that is that the unaccessible ability was finally unlocked. That's right, I said it before that the new ability would be unlocked in Phantom Liberty, and that is one of the first things that happens in the DLC. The new ability class is obviously named Relic, being the fact that you're unlocking certain abilities from the Relic chip stuck in your head, which is still a ticking time bomb by the way, but with certain Relic points, you're able to unlock the ability to cloak yourself, power up your cyberware, see the most vulnerable spots on your enemies, and more. What's funny about this is I actually remember when the game released, that ability slot was already named Relic, and everyone wanted to know if you could unlock it. Soon after though, it was changed to the Relic R symbol, and people kinda just forgot about it. This makes me wonder if there was a possibility that the Relic ability was supposed to be in the game from the start, being scrapped and added in later. Who knows and who cares though, as it's finally accessible. On to the next thing, and that is just a cool little encounter that happens when exploring Dogtown. Sometimes a ship will fly overhead, launching a loot drop into the district. A red flare will show where it landed, and if you go to that location, you will usually run into a bunch of Barghest militia, but once fighting them all off, you will find some pretty good loot ranging from weapons and armor to cyberware and components. And speaking of installables and cosmetics, there are actually a good amount of new weapons and a whole lot of new armor to collect, and there is even more cyberware to install over at the Ripper Dock. A weird thing that I actually noticed was either with the release of 2.0 or Phantom Liberty, I noticed so many more different attachments and mods for your weapons and armor, making it a little easier to customize things. But now shifting over to the heart of Dogtown, when you need a break from all of the action and crime, you actually have a safe house in the middle of the city with a couple of cool features along with some just interesting ones. The first thing you can find in that safe house is a wardrobe, giving you the ability to change your outfits without changing your armor stats. I don't actually know if this is new or not, this is just the first time I saw it. Another thing you can do here is look out on all of Dogtown, giving you quite the view of the district. On to one of the strange things, which is in the middle of the safe house, you can actually throw some music on and just boogie down. Right next to that too, you can even take a squat and spend a second meditating. But that's pretty much the basis of the safe house, usually being a place to meet Myers and Reed. On to the last thing though that I noticed, aside from all the weapons, clothing, this, that. And I saved this one for last as it's probably the most minuscule and tiny thing. That's the new loading screens. Yeah, I know it's probably nothing, but it is nice to finally see and hear something different after being on the same last mission for the past while. But now that I told you all about the new story, the new characters, such and so and such, I want to just give you all now my final thoughts and what I thought about the new DLC in general. I'll say right off the bat, if you can't tell already, I've been absolutely loving Phantom Liberty, and as I've said many times before, I think that it is wildly overdue. I think that the story that they gave us was a great addition to the already gold story that we had, and I think that the small district of Dogtown could even be better than Night City as a whole. That's a topic for a whole nother video though. I will say too, that it seems like some of the stuff that they gave us in Phantom Liberty could have been content originally cut from the base game. Such as Dogtown in general, it feels like this was already supposed to be a part of the main game being cut and redesigned for the DLC. Along with this, I feel like we were supposed to see more of Mr. Hands, though if Dogtown was cut, this specific fixer would be cut too, being shelved for whenever Dogtown was reintegrated into the game. Though with the things that seem cut and re-added, even if it was or not, everything in the DLC was a great addition in my opinion, and I honestly could not find anything really wrong with Phantom Liberty and its story. We got a good amount of new content and a great new story, along with some awesome new faces and familiar ones. You know, if I were to rate this DLC, I would probably give it a solid 7. And if you know anything about my rating, you would know that 7's pretty high in my book actually. And with all the new places you get to visit, I just want to add that it still amazes me that Cyberpunk can leave me breathless with how it looks. And with Phantom Liberty, there is even more beautiful scenery to fill your gameplay sightings with. But really, if you enjoyed Cyberpunk 2077, or even felt like it was a little incomplete, I feel like you would actually really enjoy Phantom Liberty and will find it as a pleasant addition to the already amazing base game. But honestly, that is all I have to say about Phantom Liberty, as I made my piece and I don't want to spoil any more about this amazing story than I already have. Plus, this is my third time recording this because of my broken audio and messed up mic. Now that I finally have it working, I think I'm just gonna wrap everything up there. As always, if you saw anything in this video or from Phantom Liberty that you would want to check out for yourself, I totally recommend that you grab yourself Phantom Liberty and give it a try. Along with that, let me know your thoughts on Cyberpunk's first DLC in 3 years. And as always, if you enjoyed this video and want to see more, definitely hit this video with a like and don't forget to subscribe to stay up to date on everything new coming out. And if you want to support the channel and more videos like this, along with getting your name at the end of every video and a couple other perks, check out a membership to my channel or my Patreon now. Links are on screen in the description and in my channel links. Or you can just press that join button now to check out my YouTube membership. But as always, never feel pressured, as if you're here doing the things you find people already do, that is plenty. And last of all, if you heard any music that you enjoyed and want to hear more, go ahead and check out BillyTheWhip.com or just Billy the Whip on any music platform. And now that we're here, finally at the end, with good audio and a fixed mic, I just want to say thank you to all the fans of the channel. You are all the absolute best, and as always, never forget to have an absolutely amazing day.
It's a game, I'm the only one with the hunger. I feel like Thor dropping lightning along with the thunder. Call myself the kid, I know I ain't getting younger. Trying to be the whip, it really feels like I'm gonna blunder. Nah, in fact, the whip is waking from his slumber.